Earlier on, I'd mentioned that I'm going to be joined in studio by an amazing guest, and he is here with us. Wacha tumkaribishe the Pow in the Morning way. Karibu sana, Reverend.
Thank you very much, Johnny. I'm hanging out with Johnny.
Yes. You got the name. Awesome.
I did.
Reverend Patrick is in studio today,
Thank
we
you.
are so humbled to have you here this morning. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
I love the way pastors keep time.
Oh.
Pale kwa madhabahu ndio you do not keep time. Munamalizanga, finally,
As the Spirit
brethren.
leads.
As the Spirit leads, unapata 20
Finally,
minutes later,
in
you're still
conclusion.
concluding. But it's awesome. Karibu sana, Reverend. We are so humbled to have you.
Thank you very much.
Maybe you can go ahead and introduce yourself. I'm sure there are those who know you, but now would like
Yes.
to get to also know you. Karibu.
Thanks, Johnny. My name is Patrick Kuchio. I serve as the Africa Director for Living on the Edge. Living on the Edge is an international teaching and discipleship ministry that just works amongst under-resourced, underserved pastors building their capacity. But what brings me to studio today, Pearl in the Morning is the Global Leadership Summit, where I serve on the Planning National Steering Committee, just calling leaders to a premier leadership event that is happening on Thursday and Friday this week, 3rd and 4th of November.
All right, awesome. Now, just before we go ahead of ourselves, maybe you can talk to us about
Yes.
what the Global Leadership Summit is all about. Because again, when we hear leadership, there's
Yes.
something that comes to mind.
Sure,
but
sure.
maybe that is not what you mean. The
Yes.
target is not the leaders up here, but the target is probably a certain group of people.
Yes.
So talk to us about maybe the mission and vision of the Global Leadership Summit.
Okay. Now, the Global Leadership Summit is a premier leadership event that has been happening in Nairobi for the last 15 years. It was founded in the 90s in Willow Creek Community Church by Pastor Bill Hybels, who has since transitioned out of the church and is now being championed by Pastor Craig Groeschel, the lead pastor at lifechurch.com. The Global Leadership Summit brings together leaders from across industry, business people, Christian leaders, politicians. Provided you consider yourself a leader, you are invited to that space. So it's basically an annual platform that brings together leaders from across industry. And we are persuaded from the Global Leadership Summit that leadership matters. Everything rises and falls on leadership. We believe that leadership plays a key role in influencing the quality of life that we lead, the politics of our nation. Leadership is fundamental. So that's basically in a nutshell what the Global Leadership Summit is all about.
Awesome. So if I'm hearing you right, that
Yes.
it's not just meant for the leaders, for example, spiritual leaders, because again, I'm imagining that it's
Yes.
leaning more towards that.
Yes.
But again, if you also consider yourself a leader, maybe in your company or even a political leader, that
Yes.
this summit is also open to such.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what faith you subscribe to, regardless of your faith, creed, or color, provided you're passionate about leadership. And we have leaders in all ranks and file
Correct.
of society. We have leaders in media. We have leaders in we have leadership in and leaders in uniformed forces. We have leaders in family. We have leaders in business. We have leaders in church. So the Global Leadership Summit brings leaders from across industry, not just church leaders. We have people who are not particularly Christian. So regardless of your religious persuasions, if you just are passionate about leadership, this is a platform to actually show up on.
All right, amazing. You've just answered my other question, because now I was asking about, is it cutting across everyone? Because again, when you think about leadership, there's some people who, they're leaders in different,
Yes.
capacities.
Yes.
But again, when we limit it to only watu wa kanisa, there's
Yes.
some people who are going to be left out, and yet we have people who are leading, and yet they're not really, Christians per se. Like for
Very
example,
true.
even in our government right now,
Sure.
of course, some corridor conversations, you can hear them. They have given the ministry of Sijui which one to which one,
Yes,
and all
yes.
this other, and that's a conversation that of course we need to have.
Very
But
true.
again, I love what this summit is all about. That most people think that when you're a leader ushafika, and you can't be told you're the one who tells other people what to do.
Yes,
And I think that's something that we also need to change. And I love the lineup that you have and the guys who are going to be part of
Yes.
this leadership summit. What does it, like, for example, what are the qualifications, if I would say, for one to be called a leader, if according to you?
I love that question.
Yes.
I believe there would be numerous qualifications for one to be called a leader. One such qualification is just the calling to be a leader.
Correct.
I believe God calls people into leadership. But there's the competence. those that God calls, He normally equips.
Correct.
So there will be a desire. So that desire, that passion, that drive for you to step up into the leadership space is normally what we call a call. But God is so gracious that He equips those He calls. So there's a competence bit of it. But then there's character. The character is about you developing your own leadership capacity. Then there's compassion. You realize I'm just going with C's here. So there's a call, there is the competence, there's a character, then there is a compassion, where you as a leader, you become very people-oriented, not just self-oriented, but you are about making a difference in the lives of people. So I would say for me, those are the top 4 qualities of leadership. If you want to evaluate yourself against a criteria of leadership, I would say ask yourself, do you have a call to leadership? Do you have the competence? Are you working on your competence? God equips you, but also life affords us opportunities to actually equip ourselves through school.
Correct.
Investing in a leadership book, investing in a leadership seminar. But then what about character? Are you allowing the leadership principles that you're interacting with to actually make you a better person? Then compassion. Are you about people or is it about yourself? So I totally agree with Joannick when you say the unfortunate thing at times is that we imagine that once you're called a leader, you've arrived. Absolutely. That's a pitfall, I would say. That's one serious pitfall of leadership where people keep falling into, imagining that I have arrived just because I am the morning show host at Power Radio. Nimefika sasa. It is true, umefika, but then you're good, you're amazing, Joanne. Yani, you're on point. But you know, I believe in continuous improvement. I'm a firm believer in continuous improvement, learning something new every day, every season, asking myself, what can I improve on, allowing people to speak into my leadership journey, point out my blind spots. And that's what a premier leadership event does. Inakukalisha pale chini, then you begin to realize, okay,
I have a long way to go. Because you know, most people don't actually realize. They had someone say that it actually gets lonely at the top, and you know, I feel like most leaders are not prepared for that, because you are just about the fame, you're just about the people addressing you in a certain way, mheshimiwa, or you know, sir, madam, and all these other things. But you're not ready for what comes, the responsibilities that come with being a leader at the top and being up there. If you have any questions, by the way, in regards to our conversation for today, please send it in on 0702 969 969, and Reverend is going to be answering that. And I don't know, are you going to be one of the speakers during the summit?
I am the main facilitator, moderator for the sessions.
Yes.
So that's what I normally do for GLS. I spoke in one of our GLS summits last year, but not this year.
All right. So this year you're also
just facilitating,
allowing others to also take the lead. That is awesome, by the way. And that is something that also a leader does.
Sure.
You know, that you're not the only one who's always doing everything. Yani unapata senior pastor amehubiri a whole year. Like, just calm down. Give room to the youth pastor to even conduct 2 services. Imagine the church won't collapse.
I agree. I totally agree. And I'm a firm believer in that.
Yes.
People development.
Yes.
Develop other people.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
well said.
One day, you'll have moved out of that role.
Very true. Very true. When we come back, we're going to be talking about, maybe you're going to be highlighting a few of the guests who are going to be there. As I said earlier on, I love the lineup. You know, there's some people who, when you see are going to be in a particular place, you just have to clear your schedule. You have to create room. Because these people are not found every day. When you see Julian Kuhl, you just have to create
I know.
time.
Like for you, Joannick, I'm giving you a ticket, a pass, you know.
Guys, I have a pass.
You know, as soon as you finish your morning show, show up at System Current.
I have to. Please, I have to. Most people think that since you're at the top, you're the one who's making the decisions, you're the one who's calling the shots, that you can't learn something. I was a teacher, by the way, at some point in my life. Yes.
Okay.
Let me give you a backstory of my life.
It explains a lot now.
and I would learn so much. I used to teach the 3-year-olds to 5-year-olds, and I would learn a lot from them. Like, there's some things they would say, I'd be like, wow, that is so profound. You know, I had not looked at it that way. So I think learning never stops, and even as a leader, you need to make sure that you also embrace such like summits and buy books, you know, listen to webinars and all these other things. Right now we have social media. Thank God for social media.
You could say that again.
That you know, you can be able to learn a lot from that as well.
Absolutely.
And just before we get to the lineup, because most people are not familiar, of course. We just have like 2 or 3 people who we know. But I'd like to find out, from your capacity as a reverend, have you ever gotten to a place where you, what's the word, painfully have to tell someone that they're not a leader?
Jonik, yes, it is. Yes, it is. I call them crucial conversations. I have served in senior management for a couple of years now, and I've had that challenging opportunity of calling somebody to my office. And guys knew when I called you on your extension.
Yes.
I said, could you please come to my office? Guys knew, okay.
It's about to go down.
It's about to go down. So I remember having that crucial conversation with one or two people. And I would use the principle, I'll talk about the principle of separation. I'd say, you know what? A Caesar operates on a principle called separate to operate. Once the blades are together, that for that pair of scissors to actually work, it must separate. The blades must separate.
Yes.
To operate.
Correct.
I had to ask God to give me wisdom and say, you know what? It looks like we should actually separate to allow you to operate in another space. Because in this particular space, I probably might be hindering you or denying somebody else an opportunity to actually thrive in this space. So yes, I've had those conversations, but they're not easy.
They're not easy. I can imagine. Because again, of course we have this question, leaders are born or made and all these other things. And we think that even if you're born a leader,
yes,
that you just can't wake up and lead. The steps that you need to take for you to get to a place where now you can call yourself a leader. And maybe that's another question that we'd like just find out your true sense on that.
Sure.
According to you, do you think leaders are born or made?
By the way, that's an excellent question. I normally get a little bit comical in my answer. I normally say, all of them are certainly born, first of all.
I thought you would say that. All of them.
All of them, first of all, born.
That's the common denominator. All of them are born.
But anyway, is a leader born or made? I believe that whether you are a natural leader or whether you acquire leadership skills along the way, leadership is a skill, I believe. It can also be a talent that is God-given, an ability that is God-given. But there are people who, if you met them maybe in their younger years, you'd hardly imagine that actually they'll turn out to be great leaders.
Correct.
But along the way, they acquired their skills, they went to school, they read a book, they allowed somebody to mentor them. So I believe that first of all, every leader must be born, and then there's a measure to which we are born. So whether you feel like you are naturally endowed as a leader or not naturally endowed as a leader, I believe it's a skill that can be acquired along the way. And you can actually outdo those who imagine they were born leaders.
You can. It's very possible.
Oh, it's very possible. Like for me,
Yeah.
hey, Jonik, I never imagined that one day I would actually be in senior management. I never even imagined that one day I would be speaking on a radio show. Hey, hello.
Look at God.
Look at God. I mean, this is God.
Yes.
Because, I tell guys that I was born a stammerer. And they go like, what, you? Because when they hear me now speaking and I'm like spewing 120 words per minute.
Yes.
Like, what? You say you were born a stammerer? But it's actually true. There's 2 of us in our family. We were born 10 of us, 8 boys and 2 girls. So there's another younger brother of mine who is also a stammerer. So when God calls me into public speaking, when God calls me to preach, I'm like, hey, God, you have an interesting sense of humor.
Reminds me of Moses. I'm just like,
clearly, I can identify with Moses.
Yes.
But I realized that I could actually work on my speaking, on my elocution. So there are times when I encounter some difficult words to pronounce. So I rehearse them, and my tongue gets looser and looser with time.
Yes.
So it's actually possible to work on one's own leadership journey.
It is.
Yes.
It is very possible. Awesome. I love how you put it.
Yeah.
It's very, very possible. And I keep saying that the fact that we have, for example, a leadership summit, it means that there's need for people to attend such so that they can learn. The fact that there's a marketing school, it doesn't mean that you can just go selling. There's it's different from that person who's gone through a marketing course.
Absolutely.
And someone who just wakes up and like, I think I can open a shop and start selling. Those are 2 different people, by the way, in the market.
Absolutely. And with 2 different results and outcomes.
True.
You follow them closely.
Yes.
Totally different outcomes.
Absolutely.
Almost like day and night. Yeah.
Very true. So
Yeah.
you are a leader. That's awesome. But again, attending a leadership summit and also getting to learn something about leadership is equally important.
Yes.
I love that. So the lineup that we have, amazing speakers are going to be there.
Yes.
Maybe you can talk to us about a few of them and tupatie tu siri kidogo what they're going to talk about or something. Kama unaweza.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, the running theme for this year's Global Leadership Summit is Voice Your Vision.
Yes.
Voice Your Vision. There's many people in life who have a vision. They can have a clear, preferred mental picture of the future, what I would call a vision. But we are telling people that it's not just enough to have a vision. It's another thing to articulate the vision. Even God speaks to Habakkuk and tells him, write down the vision that a herald may run with it. There are times when people are unable to run or execute programs, plans, strategies, just because the strategy, the plan, the program has not been clarified. I'm one of those guys who, before I make a move, I want clarity to settle in my mind. There's one preacher, a classic preacher. I mean, we are the home of fresh classic hits. So there's one classic speaker. His name was Charles Pageon. He made a very interesting statement, which I keep using when training people on matters communication. Guess what? A stammerer training people on matters communication. Hey, that's another miracle for another day. But he made a very interesting statement. He said, when there's mist on the pulpit, there will be fog in the pews. When there's mist in the pulpit, there'll be fog in the pews. So what you're simply saying is that if you as a communicator are not clear about what you want to communicate, the people who you expect to be comprehending, they will get nothing. It's going to be foggy in their minds.
True.
So where was I going with all this? Anyway, the speakers.
Yes.
What will they be speaking about?
Yes.
It's about voicing your vision. So the Global Leadership Summit, you'll find that the speakers, there'll be a point of convergence from their presentations. And the running theme is voicing your vision. You have a vision, you have a plan, you have a strategy. You are a husband, you have a plan. You're a wife, you have a plan. You're a businessman, you have a plan. You are a leader of an institution. You are a politician, you have a plan. You have a vision. How do you voice that vision? How do you put wheels on that vision that people may run with it? Because at times it's not for the lack of vision why a lot is not achieved in the marketplace. It's simply because people have they do not know the skills, they lack the skills of how to put wheels onto that vision. So that's basically the running theme. The world-class speakers, and I tell you, this is not just marketing, Johnny.
Yes.
They are world-class. They are world-class.
I mean, if there's an award-winning entrepreneur, I want to sit down and listen.
Come on now.
To understand what made her get an award. I'm just like, what?
Yes. One of the most innovative pastors I've ever come across is Craig Groeschel. He's the brains behind YouVersion app. Yes. Of the Bible. Yes. That has been downloaded by about 100 million people globally. I think over 100 million actually. And the target is to hit about 1 billion people downloading the YouVersion Bible app, reading app. So he's the GLS champion, and he's going to be kicking off the sessions for us on Thursday morning. So there's Craig Groeschel. We have the former CEO of Walt Disney. I mean, this is world class. People. Bob Iger, you want to listen to somebody world class, former CEO of Walt Disney. Then we have Lindsay Snyder. This lady was named the youngest female billionaire. What about that?
Oh my goodness.
For a speaker in the US in the year 2012. I mean, the thing about the planning team for the Global Leadership Summit is that they handpick some of the finest, most refined, tried and tested leaders who have practical leadership principles that can be applied almost immediately. So it's not theory. So you're not going to be hit by some theoretical frameworks during the Global Leadership Summit. No. By the time you leave a session, you have some practical, tangible, implementable concept that is already in your mind. So we have Stephanie Chang, but now coming back home, we have like Dr. Judas Kipngetich, the CEO of Jubilee Holdings. I listened to this guy talking about the theory of systems one time. We invited him to speak to us at our MBA class at Daystar University. And let me tell you, wow, you don't want to miss listening to Dr. Julius Kipin-Teach. We have the Reverend Julian Kula.
Yeah.
I mean, he is a pastorpreneur. I mean, he's a pastor, he's an entrepreneur.
Yes.
He combines them perfectly well. I just wonder and marvel how Pastor Julian pulls it off.
You
then
know?
there's Bishop Callisto Odede from Sitam. You want to hear Bishop Callisto Odede as well. We have Bishop J.B. Masinde.
Yes.
The all-time favorite. So this is just but some of the speakers who will be gracing this year's Global Leadership Summit. And if I was you, let me tell you, I would be saying, you know what? I am clearing Thursday and Friday. There is no way I'm going to be left out from this show.
Absolutely. So this is awesome. The Global Leadership Summit is happening on 3rd and 4th of November 2022, 8 a.m. to 4 a.m. at Sitam Karen, Nairobi. So remember, 8 a.m. to 4 a.m. Sitam Karen,
8 a.m. to 4
Nairobi.
p.m.
Yeah, to 4 p.m. rather. Sitam Karen, Nairobi. And the tickets are going for 2,500.
Yes.
And if you're a group of 10, that is 2,000 per person. So you get a
Absolutely.
discount.
Yes.
So please go ahead, rally up your friends in the office and your workplace and everywhere to just make your way here, because there's some things that excuse me, there's some things that they have that we need to learn.
Yeah.
And they have a story. I think that's one thing I love about God. He'll always allow you to learn from someone who has a story.
Yes.
So that you also are able to see which route to use.
Yes.
You don't make the same mistakes they made. You're able to learn so that you don't
Yes.
make those mistakes. So that is absolutely awesome. They all have a story to tell,
Yes.
and we need to learn. I mean, this is the day you carry a whole book, because it's going to be filled by the time you're leaving day one.
And by the way, in fact, if you forget to carry a book,
Yes.
we're going to provide one for you.
Okay,
a
please.
workbook. And you know what,
Yes.
Joannick? This 2.5 is highly discounted.
Yes.
One time, John Maxwell came to town, and he was having a one-day event at one of our hotels in town, slightly out of town. Guys were paying 65K minus VAT.
Oh my goodness.
And the place was sold out. But here we are bringing these world-class leaders to speak to us, and all you're charging you is 2.5. So just let people know that it is highly, highly subsidized. With the 2.5, you get ample parking at Sitam Karen. You have no issues to think about your car.
Yes.
More than ample parking. We will have security tending to your cars. I mean, we have washrooms. We have state-of-the-art facilities at Sitam Karen. We have lunch and teas. Imagine without 2.5.
That is awesome.
Oh yeah, and there's some sumptuous lunch and a good tea.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's highly subsidized. And we decided to also reach out to students, mainly university students who are passionate about leadership, and we decided to actually offer them a scholarship. So if somebody is a student, I know we've already sent out the scholarships, but if you are a student and you're saying, I'm passionate about leadership, I'm at the university, I'm in some college somewhere, just contact us, and you just never know. We can extend the same scholarship to you, because imagine we are extending a scholarship to students for them just to pay 500 shillings only. And not just students, guys from the uniformed forces, police, military, and guys from the prisons. We are actually doing this for them because we want people to be impacted. We believe that if we get our leadership right, Joannick, I am sure Kenya will be transformed. I like
Very true.
Listening to the president the other day saying leadership matters. I think he was making he's giving a speech the other day. I'm not too sure the event, but he kept narrating the way over the last couple of years what has been a determining factor in the prosperity of Kenya is actually leadership.
True.
Not ethnicity, not nepotism, but leadership. So leadership matters.
It does. It does. In any capacity, in whichever capacity, it really matters. Thank you so much, Pasi, for coming through, and we really, really appreciate. If you want more details, you can go onto our social media platforms at Pal Radio KE. You'll find the poster. Please share with your friends, with your pastor, with everyone, and ensure that they make their way to Sitam Karen, Nairobi, this Thursday and Friday, 3rd and 4th of November, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. for the Global Leadership Summit. Absolutely awesome. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Nakupatia 1 minute ya kutuma salamu, because when you come to radio, it's not every day you come here, you need to tuma salamu.
Ni kweli.
Go ahead and do that. Yes.
Ni kweli. Ningependa kutuma salamu anyway. a big shout out to all those friends of mine and friends of PAL Radio, those of us who are listening to the home of fresh and classic hits. Let me tell you, the Global Leadership Summit is happening, and I invite all my peeps, all my friends, all of you followers of mine on IG, on Facebook, Twitter, Nyinyi Water. Please come to Sitam Karen. We are ready for you. But please do your reservation today. And the way to do your reservation is actually by paying, register via paybill. We have a paybill number 825500, 825500, and the account number is GLS 2022, GLS 2022. Please go out there, register. It's only 25. If you need more information, just holler. Somebody will be ready to sort you out on 0722 490 325, 0722 490 325. Just in case you need some support, holler. There'll be somebody to help you. If you want to go on our website, it's kenyaleadership.org. Just click that link. You'll find all the details there.
We are all about the 3 E's.
Evangelize, empower, entertain,